Alright guys, we're starting this new reading log with Hirano and Kageura. I read 2, 3, and 4, and this is by Sho Harusuno. Off the bat guys, I got this yesterday and decided to read it right away. I'm a big fan of the series of Sasaki and Miyano, and we also have a side story of Hirano and Kagi. So they're both roommates. Kagi is in his first year while Hirano is in his second year. He plays the basketball team and he's in the disciplinary committee with Miyano. Miyano and Hirano completely rhymes. So in the first volume, we already know that Kagi has feelings for Hirano, and so throughout this 3-volume he does confess and tell Hirano about how he truly feel, except Hirano doesn't feel the same way. But he realized he does a lot of things that makes Kagi so happy, and he realized that he also treat Kagi differently from other of his classmates. And I think slowly he realized that I wouldn't say he has feelings yet for Kagi, but it is slowly building up, because in one of the volumes I was a little bit confused, but they're doing this 10 seconds where they would, held each other by hands, stuff like that, to pretend if they were like a boyfriend and boyfriend. And Hirano decided to just go with the flow just to make Kagi happy, because there were times there was a little bit awkward moment where they weren't speaking, because after Kagi confessed to Hirano, things were kind of like different, but other than that, they find a way to work it out, and they were about to get split from being a roommate. Then something happened, and thankfully they'll be sticking together maybe for another year. And yeah, this is just a really cute, wholesome BL story, just like Sasaki and Miyano. But this one, I would say this is a little bit more complicated than Sasaki and Miyano when it comes to the romance. Kagi is very straightforward, more than Sasaki. That's what I noticed. He will definitely make some move and tell Hirano all the things that how he felt. But then Hirano, on the other hand, sometimes he doesn't like it, but sometimes he just wants to make Kagi happy. I think he's a little bit undecided and doesn't know what to do with the situation, but whatever makes Kagi happy, it will make Hirano happy as well. So through and through, they will figure out what's going to happen with their relationship. Either Hirano will finally break in and go out with Kagi. We will see. It's just a little prediction of mine. But other than that, now Volume 4 came out around 2023. So it's been 2 years that this series doesn't have a new volume. Even Sasaki and Miyano, I think Sasaki and Miyano finally have a new chapter, but I'm not sure about... Wait, this series already has Volume 5 in Japan, but not here in the US. So hopefully Volume 5 will come out soon, because I need more of Hirano and Kagi, and it's also Sasaki and Miyano. So yeah, definitely check this out if you like friendly BL, very wholesome, slow burnt. Definitely recommend this BL. It is a teen BL, but really cute, to be honest. I always enjoy reading this series. Like, I had to read it right away. So yeah, looking forward to read more of Hirano and Kageura. All right, we have another bunch of volumes that I read and binge read. So this is backwards. I think I'm missing volume 16 somehow, because I know I read up to 16 volumes. So we got 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. I think the bottom is 16. So I read about 8 volumes. So this is Drifting Dragons. It is by Taku Kuwabara. I really like this wholesome slice of life, big fantasy adventure, and it's also about a foodie manga. We have a group of guys called Drakers. They go and hunt dragons, as to make a living, and of course they go through a lot of challenges and obstacles, especially when their airships gets, damaged throughout the mission. So the past 8 volumes, their ship had to get it fixed and renovated, and in the meantime, of course, they still had to do other things to make themselves busy. And then one of the characters named Vanable, we get to know more about her past. She comes from an island who had a war between two sides, and then she plays an important role. So that was kind of big a shock to find about her. I feel like a lot of the characters here are very like mysterious. We don't know too much about them because our two main characters are basically Takita and Mika. Is it Mika? That's Takita. Mika, he can sense like if a dragon is nearby. This is Mika, and he loves to eat dragon's meat. He always like crave for it. Besides the ship getting fixed and about Venable, they also had to hunt down a very legendary dragon, because apparently this dragon has been also attacking other airships. So that was quite an adventure and quite a lot of action, because they had to deal with another airship who's not a Drakers. They call themselves Slayer. They don't really care about what happened towards the dragon. All they care is about killing the dragon. And so they had to work together at the very end because things were getting intense because of the weather and the condition. And then surprisingly, another Drakers came to help out, and it happened to be Jiro's dad, who he hasn't seen for so long. And yeah, of course he was surprised and pissed off at the same time, because when he was young, he was expected his dad to come back, and he never did. So it feels like a lot of like people who really fully wants to focus on their career, they always end up like abandoning their family. So that's what happened to Jiro. But Jiro found new family by working in this Draker ship, and everybody over here is so like caring, and they always help together. They make sure no one's left behind. And then one of the crew named Gibbs, something happened to him, and then he wanted to quit, but then the crew doesn't wanted him to quit, especially Takita. And so he decided to stay, and because he wasn't sure what he wants to do if he does quit being a Draker. So yeah, all of them went through so much things, experienced new things at the same time. It's just full of adventure. It's so much fun to read, and it's everybody is so nice and caring. And oh my god, the only thing is this series I think was actually on pause, because volume 16 was released back in 2023, and then I found out recently that the new volume, which is volume 17, won't come out until volume 17 does not come out until next year, April. And then volume 16 did not really left like a big cliffhanger, more so they were on a mission, a dragon that descend, basically they're in the sky for a long time, and when it's time for them to descend in the ground. And they brought like she's not really a newbie. She wanted to tag along to see this descending dragon, and they also wanted to witness with this different experience. And yeah, the volume 16 ended with a descending dragon falling, and yeah, that was it. Which was like, no way. Like, this series definitely made me want to keep reading, because it was just so much fun and easy to read at the same time. There is an anime, but it only focused until like maybe 4 to 5 volumes. So hopefully one day they will continue the anime, because so many things happen. And oh my god, I just can't wait if they do continue, because it's such a underrated series in my opinion. If you're into like fantasy, slice of life, wholesome, a big adventure, there's definitely a lot of action. To me, it's never like boring or dull reading this. It just makes you want to like keep reading, because you're also curious at the same time. But yeah, if you have a chance, maybe check out the anime, and then after that read the manga. definitely recommend Drifting Dragons. I also want to add this, and fair warning now, even though it's like a big fantasy, adventure, and wholesome, the way the Drakers treats the dragons can be uncomfortable and unfair. And I definitely recommend checking out the anime first, because you'll see what they do in action. Because I saw a review and I kind of understand why they would say the fact that the dragons, there is going to be a lot of violence towards the dragons, but then at the same time, that's their job. So if you don't feel comfortable reading anything about that, definitely don't read the manga, but I do recommend checking out the anime first before reading the manga. Yeah, it kind of like caught my attention about, oh yeah, that's true. They don't treat the dragons fairly, and it can be, uncomfortable somewhat, especially for someone who likes animals. All right, let's continue with this reading log. I haven't read for a while because I was out of time. So I've read Blockbuster from 7 to 10 because that's all I got. I have not read Blockbuster for a while, but luckily I did remember what happened the last volume. So basically, Seal and the butler went to investigate a circus, thinking that they might be the one who's been kidnapping the kids around. So of course they solved that case. It was honestly disturbing because the kids were kidnapped for something. I won't say too much. And it was also a sad one because, let's just say, yeah, I won't say too much. It was very disturbing and sad at the same time. Now we're on the next arc, where Seal and the butler invited a bunch of guests in honor of the queen's late distant relative from Germany. And there were like about, let's see, you got the professor, the diamond dude, the singer and her partner, and there was another dude and another dude. So about 6 guests. However, out of the 6 guests, something happened to about 2 people. And yeah, let's just say there was a murder happen in the manor where Seal lives. So it's almost like a Clue, that show Clue, or that movie Clue. But they did figure out what happened, and as it turned out, it was something else. It was a good read, to be honest, because I like mystery, like something like that. And it happened to be, again, something else. It's not something what you think about, what you think. Hopefully it makes sense. But yeah, that was a good arc. I thought someone important did die, but of course he had something on his sleeve, and it was all like a plan for him to figure out who's been doing all this murdering. But yeah, that was a good read as well. I wish I had more volumes, but this is all I had because Black Panther already has over 30 volumes. And yeah, I definitely need to grab more, and hopefully I can start on the anime because they did start a new season, which is the Butler Academy, something like that. But yeah, I'm definitely behind. I do like this series. At first, it took me a while to really get into it because it was slow and it was very wordy. But you know what? I really like the character design on the story, and I'm getting used to the flow of reading, even though it can be super wordy. But other than that, I really like this series. So hopefully I can like get more volumes in the future, because most likely I usually get them like secondhand, which I prefer. But yeah, definitely check out Blockbuster, guys, if you like mystery, a bit of supernatural, because there is a lot of mystery here, especially about the queen, because the queen is basically giving orders to Seal and the butler, and then the queen has this other group of organization where, I don't know, they're a bit of a mystery in my opinion. And we can't forget about Seal and the butler, because they made a deal. Something happened to Seal and their family, and somehow he survived through that tragic event. But yeah, definitely looking forward to read more Blockbuster, and hopefully I can get more volumes in the future. Yeah, can't wait to read more of Blockbuster. Here we go. Just finished reading this series, My Happy Marriage. I read 2, 3, and 4, and this is by Akumi Agitogi, art by Rito Kosaka, character design by Sukio Ka, Oh my god, why did I wait so long reading the rest of the volume? Because this is such a good series and sad at the same time. We have our main character. Here we go. I forgot her name again because that always happens. But our main dude name is Lord Kudo, and our main character's name is Mio. So at first, Mio comes from a very unhealthy family. She wasn't treated well, and then one day she was assigned to, not assigned, but she got into an arranged marriage by this very well esteemed, that's not a word, a very what am I trying to say, not a popular, very esteemed noble family, the Kudo family. And at first she was really scared that the Lord Kudo wouldn't like her, but Lord Kudo is very respectful and caring for her, and throughout the story he's always trying to, you know, open up with her, kind of let her know that she should be comfortable if she has anything to share about her feelings, because Mio, she's very fragile. She went so much things on her past. Let's just say she has like a PTSD and some trauma because her own family again didn't treat her well, and her evil sister is just very evil because one day she wanted to swap her fiance, and the fiance that the sister was supposed to get married was a childhood friend of Mio. But then something happened. I don't want to spoil too much, but then ultimately in the end, Mio wants to stay with Kudo, and Kudo of course wants Mio to stay by his side. And then after that, so this story has some supernatural. Some of the characters has power, and when it comes to Mio, she thought she doesn't have power, but she has power. She comes from a very mysterious family from her mother's side. It's called Spirit Side or Sight Spirit, and it's slowly showing during her, when she's sleeping, when she's having a nightmare. Even Lord Kudo noticed something strange about her when she's sleeping. And then they met this guy who happened to be a cousin of Mio, who was pretending to be someone else. Basically, he was using a different name. And then I guess his cousin had a intention to maybe bring her back to the family, because her mother probably left her family to marry someone else. I mean, I'm just taking a guess, but it looks like there's more to it about Mio's mother's family. I mean, it says in the first volume that even the Mio's family, Mio's mother's side, used to be very connected to the like the emperor, the, you know, the monarchy family, but something happened. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty and mystery about the story, which I really like, and the fact that the romance is very slow burn, which I prefer. But yeah, really good story so far. And this series is based on a light novel, and that means the manga series is very slow. There's only a total of 5 volumes so far, and I believe that light novel is already like has 7 volumes. But usually light novel is way ahead and sometimes can cover like 2 volumes, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I really like this story. I can't believe I waited so long to read this. There's actually an anime. I definitely want to check out the anime pretty soon. Hopefully, like, the anime doesn't go further of the manga. If not, I might need to start reading the light novel, because it looks like the manga has a slower release. But yeah, really beautiful illustration as well. Love the character design. The story is mostly takes place in the 1920s because there's a mix of Western design. But yeah, getting interesting. I can't believe that, again, it took so long to read the rest of the volume. At the very end, Mio did meet her mother's side, which is, again, I mentioned the cousin, and her grandfather. So we'll get to know more about the mother side and also maybe their powers. Again, this story is like romance, supernatural. A lot of people say this is like a Cinderella story. with supernatural, if that makes sense. But yeah, definitely recommend this story if you're into that, and I can't wait to read more. I've decided to read one volume tonight because this is the new current volume of The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, Volume 9, and it's by Saka Mikami. Alright, so on the last volume, Rintaro and Kuruku was on a date. However, they bump into the Kikyu student, which is Kuruku's classmate. Now, after that, Kuruku is just so worried about what they're gonna, think about her going out with a Chijori, because she did confess that she's going out with Rintaro from Chijori, and now they decide to have a meeting with the boys and the classmate and kind of just like get to know each other and kind of discuss what's going on, why Kuruku is with the Chijori. And at first it was awkward, and some of the girls were kind of like worried and scared because they think that Chijori people are bad, but not likely. And so I think this meeting was very important to kind of squash the image of Chijori and kind of show them that, we're not bad people. It is because the Kikyu teachers sort of like brainwashed the Kikyu girls that, next to school, they're mostly bad people, but not entirely true. And now the hangout or the meeting went well until one of the classmates from Kikyu decided to leave. However, Rintaro decided to go after her and kind of like, talk about what's going on. But eventually, everybody get along at the very end. And then Rintaro made some drastic change. I won't say too much. But Kuruku, on the other hand, she's very happy that, everybody's getting along. Because she's always worried about if they're going to get caught. Because she's actually on a scholarship from Kikyu, and if there's rumors about her going out or hanging out, that it will affect her, I guess, her status. But now she's very relieved that her friends and then the boyfriend, because they're going out, that they're all getting along. I'm sorry if that was a big spoiler, but they are dating. Eventually they will be dating. But yeah, I am always like looking forward to read this series. It's just so cute and innocent and a lot of misunderstanding. Of course, there's a lot of character development, but it's not always like cheery and happy. But you just get to learn a lot from each character because they just go through so much, maybe from their parents or school or other things. But yeah, definitely check out this manga if you can. If not, there's an anime. Alright, we're going to end the reading log with Phantom Busters, which I wish I read this last month because, Halloween, since this story is all about supernatural, and it is story and art by Neo Shoko. I've heard of this manga before. It's very popular on Whatnot, the app, because maybe it's just really good. And it's actually pretty good. Again, it's all about supernatural, where you have 4 boys in high school. This guy, he eats ghosts. This guy below, his name is Tamon. This is Mogari. Tamon can talk to ghosts, but he can't see them unless he is next to Mogari or Zaki, because it seems like the 3 of them must be like together in order for their power to work. Now Zaki, he can see ghosts, and he usually he doesn't avoid them. But Tamon on the bottom, he actually preferred talking to the ghosts instead of talking to the living people, because he has like a social anxiety. And then at the bottom we got Korishiki. Now he doesn't have any special power, but ever since he was growing up, he talks about ghosts with his grandmother. Maybe the grandmother believes in ghosts, and he used to live in England and then went back to Kamakura, Japan. And then when he started with high school, he met Mogari, and then Mogari had this idea to create a club called Phantom Busters, like Ghostbuster. So yeah, the story is pretty nice. It's very funny and very enthusiastic, and it can be a lot of funny moments because each character has his own characteristic and also have quirks. Like He's definitely like the leader. He wants to lead everybody. And then Timon, on the other hand, like again, he has social anxiety, but he's getting better at it. And then Zaki, I feel like he's kind of quiet, but he's very, of course, helpful. And he has an interesting like eye and hair. But when it comes to Kurashiki, he's just very supportive with everybody, since he doesn't have any power. But right now, they're trying to make their club official because in the school, they need at least 4 members. So it took a while for all 4 members to come together, especially Tamon, because again, he has social anxiety and he didn't want to like interact with anybody except ghosts. So yeah, really cool story. Their job to either help ghosts move on to the next world, or if a ghost goes to a vengeful spirit, now Mogari, he eats them. But Mogari, on the other hand, he comes from a very famous clan where they eat souls and do more than that. But it looks like there's more to it, because at the very end, a few members of the clan are gonna go after him because they have an evil plan for Mogari. But looking forward to read more of Phantom Busters. I can see why it was very popular. Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun and interesting to see where the boys are gonna be heading up next for their next mission, and especially either help the ghosts or get rid of them. Oh, I almost forgot to show you guys the inside of the manga. Illustration, of course, is amazing. Yeah, it's just very fun, and I don't know, it's just full of sarcasm. And yeah, this is Timon. Like, he gets have an uneasy feeling when he starts talking to people, but eventually like he gets better. And like, this is some of how the ghosts look like. And this is where Timon was tricked by a ghost. But yeah, awesome so far. And I think volume 2 does not come out until next year, so definitely looking forward to read more of this series. So this was like 3 weeks of reading, but I was out of town. I didn't read for about a week, and then when I got back, I didn't read that much because I just needed some break, because it was a lot of mental while I was out of town. But yeah, I'm gonna do my best on my next reading night to read more. But other than that, this was still a good accomplishment. I read 2 series that I haven't read probably more than a year, and that is Black Butler and My Happy Marriage. Really good so far. I know I need to continue, especially Black Butler. We also have Drifting Dragons, unfortunately, volume 17. I'm not sure when it's coming out. I think it's still uncertain and unknown, but I love this series so much. And then we got Fragrant Flower, Blooms with Dignity, the new current volume. I mean, the romance is blossoming slowly, like the Kikyu girls are finding the truth about Karuko, but I'm glad that they're finally opening up about each other, especially the 2 schools, because there's been a lot of bad messages towards each other. And then we got 1BL, Hirano, and Kageura. Oh my god. I'm a big fan of Sasaki and Miyano, so happy that they have a side story of these 2 characters. This is another series that the volume is just gonna take a while to come out. And lastly, we have a new one called Phantom Buster. It's a very roller coaster, can be emotional, but you know what? It's great. I love it. It's very different. And sometimes it can be goofy, but you know what? Volume 2 comes out in 2 months, so can't wait for that. And other than that, guys, this was a great reading log, and I'm still proud, even though it's worth of 3 weeks, and that is okay. Sometimes, I can't read all the time. I have other things to do. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading log. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.